Hey bestie! Guys, we're in a new room today. Welcome back to my little corner of girl world where I give you debrief after debrief after debrief, and this time we're actually in what I call girl corner because we're gonna do our makeup and just like have a chat and hang out, okay? Hopefully the lighting and setup is all good in here because this is my first time filming in here, and it is a small room, so I am sweating my ass off. Hopefully that's not picking up on camera. I did a little Q&A on my story, so I want to answer some of those questions. Most of them are relevant to me quitting my job, my corporate job. If you haven't seen my previous two videos, I A, gave you a list of everything I considered before I quit, and then B, gave you a salary breakdown of every corporate role that I held in social media marketing, so make sure to go check those out. Usually my videos are a little bit more structured, so if you like this type of video, please let me know. Realistically, I'm probably not going to tell you all the products I'm using, so if you do want to know what I'm using, I will link them all in my Shop My. I feel like that's just easier for both of us. Now let's get into some questions. Somebody asked me how my parents reacted to me quitting my corporate job, or I guess deciding to quit my corporate job, because obviously I come from an Asian household, and traditionally Asian parents aren't super keen on you quitting a stable job to pursue something creative and unstable. Keep in mind, I have been making money from content creation for the last 3 years, so I was communicating with my parents what the financial possibility was with this career choice. And I'm sure at first they were kind of like, okay, you can make a quick buck here and there, but I think as they started to see the growth and the sustainability of making money, especially when I started making more money from my content creation than I was at my corporate job, they started to really see the reality. I also was making a lot of jokes over the last few years, being like, yeah, I'm just gonna quit my job and like become a content creator. I kept like saying shit like that to my family, so I feel like they were mentally preparing for that to be a reality. And honestly, because I was bringing it up periodically throughout the years, I definitely did see a switch in them. Like when I first started talking about it, my mom was like, oh my God, no. She is also very risk averse, probably way more than me. She also is a financial planner. So I asked her, you know, like, how much do you think I should make before I consider quitting my job, etc. And she gave me a number that was just like so far beyond my reach at that point that I couldn't even envision it. So it was just kind of like a far away goal of mine. But like I said, over the years, they started to see the reality of how much you could make doing content. And by the time I had kind of seeded the whole idea of quitting again, I honestly told them like 6 months before I even quit. They were definitely a lot more receptive and more supportive. And I will say my parents have always been really supportive of me and very trusting of me. They oftentimes just give me like considerations and things to think about when I'm making big decisions, but they typically try to avoid telling me exactly what to do, which is nice. Anyways, I was having a conversation with my parents closer to when I actually put in my 2 weeks notice. And my mom was talking about the fact that it's very clear that I have thought about this in depth and I've considered a lot more things than I think she was giving me credit for. And so at that point, I think she felt secure and felt confident that I wasn't just making a rash decision. I was making it based off of a lot of different considerations and factors. Then on my dad's side, he's definitely more of a risk taker. He started his own business young as well. And he even admitted that I was in a better financial position than he was at the time of taking the leap. So I feel like that was his way of saying like, I'm not worried about you. I already touched on this in my last video, but my partner was also very, very supportive of me. He has very similar aspirations and dreams of mine. So for him, he took it more as inspiration rather than something scary and daunting. And he's always just been my like biggest cheerleader. I'm so lucky to have him in my corner because he definitely makes it so much easier to chase and realize my goals because he's literally there like, yes, you can do it. Then I got a lot of questions about financials, how much I saved before I quit, how I'm budgeting, all of that. I touched on this a little bit in my last video, but I wanted to have at least 1 year's worth of the salary that I was planning on paying myself to be in my savings account before I quit my job. And the reason I was able to save that much is because I had gotten to a level at Lululemon where I was making enough from my corporate salary that I did not have to spend or dip into anything I was making from my content creation. Honestly, the only times I was really dipping into my content creation savings account was when I was actually buying things that supported content creation, like my laptop or my desktop behind me. So yeah, very, very minimal expenses coming out of that account. Now, there are a few reasons why I chose 1 year as like a savings buffer for me. Number one, TikTok has been like a little dicey this year. That's where I make the majority of my dollars because the majority of my followers are on TikTok. We had that whole ban scare at the beginning of the year. I just wanted to be extra cautious. Number two, we are obviously in a recession. The whole tariff wars, the economy, everything is just not doing as well as it was in previous years. And so I wanted to set myself up in a way that if things really hit the fan this year, there was enough buffer to wait until it started equaling out again in the future years. And thirdly, I'm a very big overthinker. I knew I would get in my head about when the next paycheck was coming in, when the next brand deal was coming in, and I wanted to be able to relieve myself of that mental burden. And so knowing that I have 1 year of buffer, that is enough for me to not constantly be thinking about, okay, like when is is the next paycheck coming? I'm getting stressed on money, etc., etc. I think that also allows me to be a little bit more lax with my content creation, more authentic, less like brand heavy, pushy, because I'm not super worried about having to make money to survive. It is not lost on me that it is a very privileged position to be in. And it's crazy to think that a hobby really afforded me that kind of lifestyle, because never in a million years would I think that this would happen to me. I know I'm still relatively new and growing on YouTube, but I just want to say thank you, because if you're watching my YouTube, you are a real one, okay? We have a small but mighty community here, and I just know that you probably support me on other channels too. So just thank you for changing my whole life. I also had a couple questions of people asking how I knew it was time to quit, and honestly, it was just a feeling. I feel like I'm very much a feeling-oriented person. When I feel ready to do something, when I have built enough confidence and security to do something, it doesn't come easy to me, but once it does, I just know it's time to go. I feel like leaving my corporate job, I handled very much so like a breakup. I wanted to avoid getting to a place where I was like so fed up and so resentful of working in corporate so that I could still have a good relationship with my team, with my manager, with the company. And honestly, I had just gotten to a place at work where I was no longer happy. I was no longer proud of the work I was doing. I didn't feel like I was challenging myself in ways that I wanted to anymore. And in general, I just kept looking at my life and how I wanted to live my life, and having a corporate job did not align with that vision. And honestly, it took me a long time to really lean into that mindset, because I've been taught my whole life, you go to school, you go get a job, you work until you're like 70 and then you retire. And for a long time, I was chasing those dreams. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna work my way up the corporate ladder, until I realized I was working towards something that I didn't even like, didn't make me happy, took away from my mental health, and didn't even maximize me in a financial way. So for me, it just made sense. Eventually, I was like, listen, I need to make moves in order to not waste this one life that I have. Let's actually talk about budgeting for a sec, because obviously now I don't have a dual income, and I'm actually paying myself a lower salary than when I was working at Lululemon in a corporate job. I spoke about this in my last video, but I did actually write down like a full budget breakdown of what my life looked like before I quit versus after I quit. And this is where I kind of outlined what I would be making per month based off of the salary I was gonna pay myself, kind of listing out my fixed expenses like my mortgage, my groceries, gas, insurance, all of that kind of stuff. And then from there, thinking about how much I wanted to save per month and then how much I had left to spend. When I was choosing the salary that I wanted to pay myself, I essentially wanted to find the perfect sweet spot of using as little dollars as possible while not altering my lifestyle too drastically. I do not do well when I restrict myself, especially if it's like a big jump from like one lifestyle to another. So I wanted to keep my lifestyle relatively the same while also kind of altering a bit to be more frugal and more sustainable. But I'm gonna be so honest, before I quit my job, I was not really keeping track of what I was spending per month and what I was saving, because I knew I was saving all of my content creation money. So now I am being a lot more mindful of what I'm spending. I'm actually writing down every transaction that I have so that I can better understand what dollar amounts mean. Because I don't know if this happens to you, but it is so easy to think that I'm spending a certain amount and then look at my bank account and be like, oh, it was a little bit more than that. So I kind of want to give myself like a smoky brown liner that could really like cut a bitch and like give me very like foxy eyes. Now this is technically only my 4th week of being self-employed, so I'm still working out the kinks of budgeting and really pulling back on my spending and being more intentional with what I'm doing. It does help though that I'm not leaving the house to go to the office as often, because I swear as soon as I leave the house, I'm like, oh, let's get a sweet treat, let's get coffee, let's get lunch. So that has definitely been helping in cutting down the like dumb daily expenses, but I still have some work to do. Actually, since we're on the topic, let's talk about how the last 3-4 weeks has been as a self-employed person, because I have a lot of thoughts. The first week I was kind of just chilling. I treated it like a little break, a little vacation. I didn't want to dive straight into work because I knew how quickly I could get fully engulfed in doing content. And it was honestly just so crazy how free my mind felt that first week. And honestly, it still feels this way, but literally I would wake up in the morning and have a clear mind, which is so unlike me. I feel like before I was very much the type to open my eyes and immediately start thinking about work, check my phone to see if there's any messages I want to reply to right away, if my boss had texted me, what emails I have to reply to, what I have to get done that day. It was so busy and loud in my head at all times, especially upon just waking up. Versus now, I still have thoughts, obviously, but it's way less urgent than it used to be before. And I'm telling you right now, urgency was the bane of all of my problems. All of my anxious tendencies come from the idea that I have to do everything right away, or else I'm failing, I'm not doing a good enough job, my boss is thinking poorly of me, etc., etc. It was just like so toxic. So yeah, the no thoughts thing was definitely the top thing that I noticed, especially in that first week of being self-employed. After that first week, it was really important for me to establish a routine, which I think was a big challenge for me because honestly, going from corporate to self-employed felt very similar when you go from school to the real world. Obviously at my job, I knew exactly, okay, from 8 to 4, 9 to 5, I will be working, I'll be sitting at my computer, I know what meetings I have, what deadlines are set for me, and I also had a very good grasp of how much work I should be doing in order to meet a certain threshold of good performance. Whereas with self-employment and content creation, all of that is kind of up to me and it's very arbitrary because the success that you get, whether it be followers, money, engagement, all of that kind of stuff, isn't directly correlated to how much you're working or how many hours you're putting on things or how many pieces of content you're putting out. Obviously, you want to be consistent, you want to be putting good content out, but who's to say if I should make 7 videos a week, 8 videos a week, 10 videos a week, 5 videos a week? Like, nobody really has a number. And so I feel like those first couple of weeks, I was really going hard, being like, okay, every moment that I have free, I'm gonna film something, I'm gonna edit, I'm gonna do all these things. And then I kind of caught myself and was like, okay, hold on. I feel like you are fast tracking yourself to burnout. So I'm really trying to be a lot better and more intentional with how much input and output I'm doing per week so that I can still have a sense of balance in my life and not let it consume my entire life. I'm so used to a 40-hour work week, but doing 40 hours of content is kind of crazy. I was literally doing maybe 5 hours of content before and I was already considered a full-time content creator because I was posting every day. So for me, it's really about striking the balance of doing things that I want to do outside of content, because the whole reason I wanted to quit was that I had more time to do things that I enjoyed and a plethora of things I enjoyed versus just one thing and doing it because I wanted to make money. I'm severely sweating. It was also so surprising to me how much time and energy is taken away from having a 40-hour-a-week job. When I first quit, I was afraid that I was gonna be so bored because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have so many hours to do things. I'm gonna be by myself and whatever. And to be fair, it's only been a month. So like maybe I will get bored at some point, but I'm also realizing how little I was able to do outside of my workday because my energy was so zapped. I was literally doing the bare ass minimum when it came to cooking, cleaning, working out, all the things that are like routine and regular. And so now I'm just able to prioritize all those things more. And then I'm realizing, okay, there's actually not that many more hours in the day when you're actually able to do all of the things that you plan to do anyway. So yes, I have more time, but I feel like the energy piece is the biggest unlock for me because before I was literally just rotting away in my bed, not doing anything because I had nothing left to give after I clocked out. Also say I feel like I have been able to fill my day really easily, which I was afraid I wasn't gonna be able to do. And so far so good, I'm not bored. Now I would absolutely be lying if I said that I had no anxiety or thoughts whatsoever about making money as a newly self-employed person, because I definitely have, even though I have that buffer, whatever. I used to never think about, okay, when's the next brand deal coming in? How much time is passing between brand deals and like opportunities? Because I obviously never treated those things as like my main source of income. I definitely have caught myself a few times having those thoughts a little bit more often. And I do think it is natural for me to have this initial sense of anxiety, but I'm just trying to be really cognizant not to let that consume me and cause me a lot of stress, because again, I don't want it to affect my content, how I show up in my content, how I'm acting. And I obviously need to remind myself, like, this is what we prepared for, okay? We saved so that we wouldn't have to think about these things. Don't freak out. Ugh, every time I use the Givenchy powder, I am reminded why she has so many fans. The makeup is absolutely makeuping today. I'm obsessed. Also, if you're wondering why my shirt is like this, it's because the mic is like dragging the shirt down. Hopefully that wasn't distracting. I've actually been vlogging a little bit more on TikTok, and I want to bring that same energy to YouTube to show you a little bit more behind the scenes of what life looks like now. So if that's something you're interested, let me know. Or if you just prefer these sit down talking videos, I'm good with sticking with that too. I feel like I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do and create, so please let me know if there's anything on your list so I can add it to my list. This Rare Beauty mascara is so freaking good. YouTube has definitely been the thing that I've been wanting to do the most over the last few years, and the thing that I've had absolutely no freaking time for. So I'm just so happy that I can finally dedicate time to it and really learn more about making long form content, because I've been doing short form for so long. So if you've watched any of my YouTube videos, I just have to say thank you again, because it has been so fun and therapeutic for me, and I'm hoping that these videos are resonating with you too. Okay, now the hack is to put a little bit of eyeshadow right in the inner corner. Ooh, sultry, sexy, cute. This is the finished makeup. I'm so happy with how it turned out. The skin looks so good. Again, let me know what you want to see next, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!